Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. The preseason is dropping today. It probably is already live on your server and everything is going to be really different. Like it's going to feel like a very, very different game. We're going to catch you up to speed with everything you really need to know, the most important bits. I won't cover absolutely everything, but after this video, you'll know what to expect when you jump into game. If anyone wants to timestamp this stuff, I will pin that comment in the comment section so that will help everyone to skip to bits. But we're going to start with some items, go into runes, and then go into our objectives. The objective stuff, the dragons and everything, and the rift changing is really important, but a lot of people have already kind of gone over that a little bit. So we're going to start with some of the lesser known things and then move on to that. So first of all, then we have our lethality items, and these are actually going to make a big difference, and not just for assassins like you're probably expecting. Let's cover some of the stuff that's staying relatively the same. So Dustblade is going to be pretty much the same, except there's no blackout passive on there, so you can't kill wards or anything like that, but the AD has been increased on it. This is the highest lethality and the highest AD item you can now buy. So if all you want is raw damage, this is the item that you want. Yuma's Ghostblade is basically exactly the same, except now when you have the active on, it allows you to ignore unit collision for the entire duration. So it's just a bit more useful. It's like a quality of life thing. Edge of Night is really different though, and this is one of the biggest things because this will be bought on top laners, maybe even some AD carries as well. It's basically an AD version of Banshees. The spell shield is nothing to do with channeling for a second to gain that shield that only blocks within the next 7 seconds. It just grants a spell shield that blocks the next enemy ability. The shield is going to refresh after no damage is taken from enemy champions for 40 seconds. The AD is a bit lower, the lethality is a bit lower as well. The health is increased, so it's more about the utility than damage. Now we have two new lethality items. So the first of these is Sanguine Blade. So you gain attack speed and lethality when near one or fewer enemies. This is our other damage item really. So when you're hunting somebody down, if you're trying to split push and everything, this is going to be a really good item because you get 18 lethality, 10 base, and then 8 from the passive. But if you're going to team fight with it, you only get the 10, which is honestly not that good. The last one, the Umbral Glaive, is basically the new blackout item, so this is a bit more utility. The damage is a bit lower, the lethality is a bit lower as well. It does give some CDR, which is pretty nice, but it also gives a blackout, so you can combine this basically if you want to remove vision. Our next items to change are our crit items. Now, I've done an entire video on this, which I'll link down below, so if you really want to know more about it, then you should go and watch that one. But just very quickly, this all plays around the energized effect system that we have on Rapid Fire, on Shiv, and on Stormrazor. Now, Stormrazor has been reworked, so it actually gives crit chance at 25%, so you can slot this in like an Essence Reaver, a Rapid Fire, anything like that, and it basically goes into this build and adds the energized effects together. The damage on Rapid Fire and on Shiv and stuff, it doesn't scale anymore, it's just a flat 120, but because they can add together, like if you have Stormrazor and Rapid Fire together, that's an extra 240 damage every time it's up, and that's actually quite a lot. The other thing you need to know as well is that Brawler's Glove has been removed from the game and Cloak of Agility is basically replacing it. It's up to 25% crit chance though, so this is really good to slot into any crit build. Azil is also more expensive, it's up to 1400, but that's because you're going to have your Cloak into your dagger straight away. But honestly, you buy the Cloak anyway before you get the Zeal and you already get the 25% crit, which is really good. The last item change are to support. So support items have 3 tiers like they already did, but they now upgrade automatically for free as you complete the quests. The other thing as well about this is there's now an anti-poaching thing in here, basically saying that carry laners and everything like that, they cannot buy these support items anymore. Farming more than 20 CS every 5 minutes, so that's 3 out of 10 waves basically, reduce your gold from minions by 50%, and that penalty increases with further CS to a maximum of an 80% reduction at 50 minions. The support items are pretty much the same. There are some things that are a little bit different, but the Spell Thieves is going to be AP, it's going to have the Tribute. It's going to be a bit different. Damaging spells and attacks against champions or buildings grant 15 gold, and you gain a charge of that every 10 seconds up to 3. We also now have a Spectral Sickle line as well, which is basically the exact same as that, but it's going to be AD instead of AP. We actually have another split as well. So the Relic Shield line is going to be different. So you have your Relic Shield, which is actually for AP champions, health, ability, power, and the Spoils of War, which is the execute part of it. And we also have our new Steel Shoulder Guards line, which is basically the same thing. It's going to have the execute on it, but it's going to be giving you AD instead of AP. Actually, one thing as well that's really important that a lot of people have kind of missed, I guess, a little bit, is that early game should be a tiny bit slower because of the turret plating changes. They're increasing the armor magic resist per 3rd, 4th, and 5th attacker when a plate is destroyed. So basically, if there are more than 3 of your allies around, so if it's you and like 2 others or something, like you have 3, 4, or 5 of you around this tower, it's going to die a lot slower. Now, next up, we have our runes. So Kleptomancy has been removed from the game. It was a little bit ridiculous, like it was a little bit too much RNG. So what they've done instead is put another RNG keystone in its place. Omnistone is really about like using what you are given, I guess. So basically, you periodically gain a single use of another random keystone. And once a keystone is rolled, it cannot be rolled again until only 3 options are left, at which point the table resets. The cooldown varies depending on if you're melee or range, so it's 8 to 4 seconds for melee, it's 12 to 8 for range, and also you're going to be gaining a new keystone while out of combat after 40 seconds of not using the keystone. It will show which keystone you have to the right of your health bar, and all players, even the enemy ones, can actually see that, but this is a list of the available keystones as well. Conqueror is quite a big change as well. The true damage is removed from here, so there's no true damage on it at all anymore, and the healing is now after mitigation, so basically it doesn't kind of buttocks like as many tanks. The maximum stacks have been increased. Melee champions now gain double stacks, and range stacks no longer expire a bit faster. Aftershock has also had its flat resist decreased, so it's not going to be as good now when it actually procs, but the percent bonus resistances has been increased, so basically it's going to be worse early and better later as you build tank. The damage has also been decreased early, but it actually scales with bonus health rather than maximum health, so if you're building health from items, again, it's going to scale a little bit better, and the cooldown is also a lot lower now, so it was 35 seconds, it's now going to be 20. Presence of Mind and Nimbus Cloak have also been updated in the preseason, so Presence of Mind is now going to restore 20% of your maximum mana or energy and increase your maximum mana by 100 up to 500 total, or your maximum energy up by 10 up to 50. This is actually a really cool change. Like, having a maximum mana increase or maximum energy increase is going to be really good for some champions. Nimbus Cloak is also going to proc off summoner spells instead of ultimate, so basically now every time you use a summoner, and this is really cool as well, you gain a burst of move speed. The move speeds are a little bit different depending on which summoner you use, but like your flash and your teleport, for example, that's going to be a 35% movement speed boost, so you can either run away or chase people much easier. Now we're going to move into our objective. So the transformation of the rift and everything is going to be a really big part. And this is how it works if you aren't sure. So after the second elemental drake dies and the third is announced, that is going to be when the map is going to change. The rift element is going to be the same element of the third drake. So if an infernal dragon is going to spawn third, then the map is going to change into the infernal one. Once the map has transformed, then all future elemental drakes will spawn of that same element. So in the infernal example, every single drake after is going to be infernal. There was also a really important part about this. It's kind of been skipped over, that the first 3 drakes are now always going to be 3 unique different elements. After that, as we said, all of the rest of the drakes will be the same as the third drake and the same as the map. The respawn and the spawn time are going to be pretty much the same, but one thing as well is that dragons are going to be a lot easier to take. They used to have 3,500 health and then gain some per level as well, but now they're going to start off at 2,650, so quite a bit less. That is only going to be for the first 2 though, so the first 2 drakes are going to be easier to take, and then when the third one comes, which is basically what the map is going to turn into now, it's going to be higher, so it's going to start at 4,350 and then gain some per level. The idea is that the first 2 don't really matter too much. They're going to give you one of the buffs, which is cool, but you're really aiming for the dragon soul. And so after that third one, you really need to make sure you contest, or at least it's going to last a little bit longer and give you a chance to contest. These dragon souls are a really big part of the new season. So the first team to slay 4 elemental dragons gain a dragon soul, matching the elemental rift. The elder dragon then begins spawning after that. One team gets a dragon soul. So only one team can have this dragon soul buff, and they are permanent and they persist through death as well. So the Infernal Soul is every 3 seconds, your next damaging attacker ability on an enemy unit triggers a small explosion, dealing some damage. It has some scaling as well to the target and nearby enemies. The Mountain Soul is after not taking damage for 5 seconds, you gain a big shield. And the Ocean Soul is dealing damage to enemies, heals you for a flat amount, and also restores some mana over 3 seconds. Damaging minions or monsters regenerates a 30% effectiveness, so it's not going to be as good. And then finally, the Cloud Soul, you passively gain 10% increased move speed, and after casting your ultimate, you gain an additional 30% move speed for 3 seconds. Some of the buffs are pretty similar, so like the Infernal one itself, like when you get one of the dragon, you're going to get some percentage AD and AP, so that's the same as last season really. Mountain is not going to be like that anymore though. It's not going to be objective damage or anything like that. You're going to gain a percentage of your armor and magic resist as a bonus. So if you have more of your armor and magic resist, if you're a tank or something, this is going to be a really good dragon to take. Ocean is also going to be a little bit different, so it's now going to give you 5 to 20% missing health regen per 5 seconds, but the mana regen has been removed. Cloud is also a bit different as well, so it's now going to give you 10 to 40% ultimate cooldown reduction. I'm ignoring the cooldown reduction cap as well, so this is actually pretty insane for a lot of different champions if you spec it right. Now, those are the dragons, right? That is kind of the terrain side of things as well. But then after we have our 4 elemental drakes, or after one team has their 4, we're going to go into our elder dragon. There is actually still a burn on here, so you do have a true damage burn over 3 seconds, but it doesn't scale with how many drakes you have. It has this new mechanic instead, so damaging an enemy at less than 20% health causes them to die after 0.5 seconds, and there is absolutely no cooldown on that either. The buff is going to last 180 seconds instead of 150. You're still going to lose it if you die though, and it's going to be spawning 6 minutes after one team kills their 4th elemental drake and a 6-minute respawn. Last couple of things, his Baron buff is now shorter. It's going to be 180 seconds instead of 210, so it's going to be 30 seconds less and basically have less time to actually use it and to push. The other thing is we have Rift Herald now, so this is going to be more important and a bit better, I guess, as well. So the initial spawn is 8 minutes, but it actually has a respawn. There are quite a few different small changes with this, but the main ones are that the channel duration is now 1 second instead of 4. It's a little less tanky. The damage is about the same, but it does a lot of self damage when it actually charges into a tower. One of the things that I think has been a little bit controversial, I guess, is the minion experience change. So the solo laners get a bit more and the shared experience for our bot laners get a bit less. I know it seems really big, but every 5 waves now adds up to an extra caster minion for solo laners and 1 fewer for bot lane. So yes, it is going to make a bit of difference as you scale throughout the game, but it is not game changing for early. One of the actual big things though with experience is at jungle camps, and this probably honestly deserves its own video on pathing and everything because I can't really fit it into this one. The really important parts you have to know is that a catch-up experience has been removed. So jungle items no longer grant additional experience on the monster kills if you're behind in levels. This is a really big thing. So if you try to actually gank all the time and it doesn't work, then you will fall behind and you will get punished a lot harder. At the same time though, small camps respawn quicker. So it's now 120 seconds. So they're going to be up more often, but they give less every single time you take them. The idea and what Riot is trying to do is to say that if you farm a little bit more, you're going to get more reward out of it. You can't just power through and go crazy, but if you want to be a farming jungler rather than ganking, there are clear advantages to either side. Obviously those things are going to cause a lot of changes, but the things you have to know are that camps are going to respawn a little bit faster. There's no catch-up experience, so if you want to gank, you better make sure it works, otherwise you are going to fall behind. That's going to wrap up this video. I'm sorry I couldn't really go into too much. If you have any things that you really want explained in a separate video, please let me know down below and I'll do my best to go through and look at those with some ideas. But thank you for watching until the very end, and for now I will leave you with Roblox.